Hi, everyone. Josh Silverman, Justin Stanley.
Hi.
Constantly Calibrating. Day 3 of PAX. Our final day is complete. It is currently 9:30 at night. We leave for the airport at 3:30 in the morning. 6 hours from now. I'm going to literally be getting off, assuming everything goes in time, I will be getting off a plane in 12 hours.
I won't.
Well, you won't. No, you have hell of a day tomorrow. But yeah, it's a really weird experience doing something so late. But that being said, we are here to talk about Day 3 of PAX. We're going to grab a couple things. We actually have a game from Day 1 and a game from Day 2 that I forgot to mention with everything going on.
Okay.
That I'm just going to get through really quickly. First off is Fort Triumph. Think XCOM, but fantasy. So you have archers, you have mages.
Okay.
And yeah, it's actually even a graphical style that's vaguely reminiscent to me of Warcraft 3. That kind of stylization and coloration. They're pretty early with things. Even the scenarios don't really have placeholder names right now. But it was fun. You could take the high ground on things. Your archers actually had to move to hookshot someone, which would pull them towards you. If there was an object in the way, they'd slam into it and get stunned. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. That you could knock. There was knockback, knocking people into each other. Your characters level up. Your characters die permadeath. Mm-hmm. It's XCOM medieval. I mean, that's literally the best way to describe it. It's still pretty early on in development.
Gotcha.
But I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. And then the other one
is something from yesterday, right?
Is something from yesterday called Ruiner. We were wondering why the Devolver Digital booth got asked if we wanted to see it. Thought, sure, why the hell not? Mm-hmm. I want to review this game. So, Ruiner is highly stylized, but dark kind of game. That's kind of
it's
fair.
Like dark, cyberpunk.
Yeah, cyberpunky kind of thing. You play a faceless character who gets hacked to kill a boss. And there's another voice in your head telling you this is wrong. That your brother, I believe, is being kidnapped is a story. Yep. There's some highly stylized, really cool vignettes. But otherwise, the gameplay is you run around, shooter / combat.
It's kind of like a top-down isometric, and I guess the aim in combat or shooting is kind of like a twin stickish.
Yeah, it's quasi twin stickish. So yeah, you choose your directions to shoot, but then you have on one button on I believe I was on the trigger. You have your melee weapon, and then your guns once you get them, and then on the right bumper. I was playing on an Xbox controller. You have your melee. You don't have to switch between them. They're both accessible at all times. Has a deep skill tree, and
a lot of dashing about.
A lot of you dash about. You could slow down time. You could reassess things. The combat is really hard, but monstrously satisfying. Dashing about quickly and hitting people, or turning on I had a shield ability and charging into them was really freaking satisfying. Particularly with the sound combat made, and then the sound, just the music. It was great. Like, I absolutely had no interest or desire to look into this game. And now that I got hands-on, I really want to go back and play more.
Glad you got hands-on, too. I had a feeling if you just watched me play it, I don't think you'd be as interested into it.
I know. I think that's a game... No, because I've seen the trailers for it. I didn't give a shit. We keep talking about every one of these PAX things we've been doing this weekend. How... differing opinions and differing viewing. And that's actually one thing I think we really need to tackle on a topic on the podcast, is the difference of literally what going hands-on with something can be, and the difference between also going hands-on something in an event versus going hands-on at home. Because I really enjoyed that in that setting, but I don't know if I would. Versus, it was a game we talked about yesterday, Moonlighter, which I think I actually would enjoy a lot more at home streaming than I ever did in front of a developer, because I felt watched. Ruiner felt different, though, where it felt like the guy was watching me, and I literally wanted to impress the developer in a weird sort of way.
Did not achieve that.
No, God, no. I impressed one developer today. We'll get to that in a minute. So let's look at today, our final day of PAX. Much like yesterday, I didn't have today was stacked appointments comparatively, but you went to. I want to just touch on this really quickly if you can.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it last year, the PAX Rumble.
I did go to PAX Rumble.
So we all at this point know that the Paxomania, the shtick of it, but what was it like this year? Was it well put together and properly structured?
As good as it can. It's always a shit show, but it's supposed to be. But no, it was really good, really entertaining. I mean, at the beginning of it, a pack of hot dogs was being passed around in a crowd, all for Dan Reichert.
Okay, it's Reichert. I'm like, why? Why is this a thing?
Oh yeah, he does his entrance and everybody throws hot dogs at him.
Fair enough. You know what? I have always had a desire to throw a hot dog at Dan Reichert, so
Well, he lets it get him in the face too. No, like he'll get him, he'll pick them off the ground, shoot him. I love it. At the very beginning, they're like, just Boston, it's fine. It's a compliment to throw a hot dog. If you do it in Seattle, you're assholes. It didn't happen. It's like the guy's like, I love you, but fuck you all. It's like there's like throughout the whole thing, there's still hot dogs here. They threw a lot of hot dogs at Dan Reichert.
I can imagine the experience of that.
But no, a whole lot of like if you're not familiar with PAX Rumble, it's a lot of character introductions. And probably just the last end of it, like 30 minutes. The hour 30 minutes. I don't even think it's that long. Is actual gameplay wrestling.
Yeah,
most of it's just introducing characters and roster.
Yeah, I mean that's that's what wrestling is. So it makes sense, the showmanship of it.
They had to do it in Weston this time because they got kicked out of the Hyatt last year for a fog machine. I guess that's what happens when you trip smoke alarms and have the Seattle Fire Department come down.
Seriously, it's a complete shit show in the best way possible.
Which they got a lovely letter from the fire department, and they actually said don't sweat it, pretty much.
Yeah.
I can go in more detail about it, but it was twitched, it was streamed, and I'm pretty sure there's a video of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can go watch it. We've now talked about it for the last PAX East and the last PAX West, so at this point, the mini report on it.
I will say an impressive run for Mega Ran. He was like the fourth entrance in, and he made it a good distance.
I saw a fun picture series where he got really, really upset about losing and then gently turned a chair over.
Very gently.
And I'm just like, I having met the guy in person, that totally makes sense. And actually, our friend of the show, Justine from Surprise Attack Games,
she was in there.
She was in there representing Australia. Mm-hmm. So, playing as the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels in her Heartbreak Kid
it was perfect for her.
It's if you know anything about her, it's pretty awesome. So she was super stoked after. She mentioned the on day one, the PAX Rumble, but I thought she was mentioning, she said, I'm going to it. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, Justin's going to it too. I didn't know she meant she was in it.
She was in it.
Yeah, that was super cool to hear about. Let's see here. Want to move on to some game stuff? I think we're at that point. Okay. Yeah. So, Necrobarista, that is the first one I played. Necrobarista, really simply, is a game where it's story driven. So, it's a visual novel, except they added the quirk of it that in between these vignettes and things you do, which you can kind of play a lot of stuff in whatever order you choose, you do kind of a point and click thing where you can continue with the story, play just like a standard visual novel, or you do these little things. You can walk around the environment and first person and click on things, and you'll get little story beats, or you'll find out what's going on in certain characters' heads. Really simple, really interesting game. The visual style is really cool because instead of just being either just straight text or kind of comic booky, there's actual as you click, characters will flourish as they're doing stuff. This was during like a knife fight, kind of what I forget what it's called, but when you stab the fingers, kind of between the fingers, kind of thing.
Like Five Finger Fillet or something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was trying to think of the Red Dead Redemption term. And what was I say? And then yeah, it was really cool. The thing I noticed most about the game, aside from the visual style, is the music. I don't know what brand of headset I was using for this, because I don't really pay attention, even though I know they put a lot of effort into choosing them clearly. Literally had bass going, and the music was awesome, and it was one of the highlights. I think that demo only took I got to that appointment 15 minutes early, and I was done with my appointment 5 minutes before the start time. So yeah, it was a really quick thing. I checked out after that. I checked out Just Shapes and Beats, and what that is you just move around the environment, dash around the environment. It's literally what it sounds like. There's 4 players, you're little shapes. You dash around. There's music. The levels are not procedurally generated. They are made to the beats of the music.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just trying to avoid the pink, essentially. And first level is a tutorial, pretty easy. There's checkpoints. Second level is kind of a tutorial with checkpoints. Third level, you have to make it through the entire thing, or it restarts from the beginning and it rewinds, through it. You have to work as a team. You can revive people by moving over them, but they only have 1 hit point. Every time you get hit, your shape breaks up. You start as, I think, like a hexagon, and then it slowly turns into like little Tetris pieces as you move around, as you get damaged. But after finishing it, which we were one of the groups that finished it, there's a secret level. The music is Mortal Kombat by the Immortals, the theme song for the Mortal Kombat movie, and it's licensed. Instead of like being like pink lines and stuff like that shooting out, Liu Kang is doing bicycle kicks off the screen.
Nice.
Johnny Cage I think it was Johnny Cage doing shadow kicks. Just stuff like that, and like there's like uppercuts of fire from the bottom, and then like a Shang Tsung kind of character, just as fireballs up and down the screen. It is monstrously fucking difficult. We did end up finishing it barely, and this game's like impetus to keep you going is like, if you don't like music, it's like, I just want the song to be over and move on. But if you really like a song, it's almost like, I just want to keep dying and keep hearing more Mortal Kombat. I doubled back and played a little more Shots Fired from yesterday.
Okay.
I really love the shit out of that game. There's not really much more to say.
I was about to say, like, any other impressions you got from it?
Not really. This time I actually succeeded with. So I mentioned that if you kill someone, you have to do like a Pac-Man-esque kind of exfiltration.
Yeah.
I succeeded in it, and if you actually succeed, then you actually can take on another contract killing.
All right.
I got to the point that I had to go after a boss character, which meant having to go after lieutenants and stuff like that. So, it was more than just like finding a person on what was called the Hunter app kind of thing. So, there's a lot more going on. I'd almost found my TV.
Good.
By the time I had to run to my appointment. Progression. Which means the appointment, I went and saw the Guild 3. THQ Nordic is publishing. I've not played any of the Guild games. That very much disappointed the person showing me the game, I feel like. I think mostly because he had to explain it a little more. So I went in thinking it was kind of a city builder. It's actually more of like an economic simulation kind of game. You have a character, you create man, woman, and you make stuff. So you can start, like I started as a poor person making iron daggers. And you make stuff, then you go to the market and sell it. Then you make stuff, go back and forth, and as you level up. You unlock the ability to open more businesses. You can hire more workers, so you can make more stuff at a time. And it's essentially just trying to build up your own economic empire. One of the things about the game is your character's only going to live for, like, I forget, a few in-game years. The game lasts about 200 in-game years. And so you actually have to find a spouse and have children. And then you take over the children. And that's how it progresses. And at the start, you might just I need to find a wife. But there's actually skills to the game, stats. So then as the game progresses, you're like, well, I need to find the best wife, the best husband, to have the best children. So that my next thing, and it's all one playthrough. It's not like roguelite at all. So you just continue building your empire. Game lasts 200 years, assuming you survive, which is supposed to take 40 hours.
Ooh, jeez.
And early access starts September 26th, MPC. And doubling like Just Shapes and Beats is currently PC only. I think they're expecting next year.
Okay, awesome.
Sorry about that.
My next. Did I do a thing next?
Yeah, Dual Universe. That was your next thing.
Yeah, I got to go see Dual Universe. So someone came by and said, it's super ultra mega Minecraft in space. And Rick, who I talked to, he's like, write that down. I'm like, I did, Rick. I wrote it down.
You listened.
Yeah, that kind of does explain it. It is a MMO-ish as far there will be a server. It'll be like one server too.
Okay.
With everybody on it. Gotcha. And it's going to be an expanding universe, which is procedurally generated. And you can build anything on there. Like, you can dig in anywhere, too. You said if you really wanted to, you could dig straight to the planet you're on. There are other planets in the solar system as well that you can fly off to and ask them if, like, is it, like, kind of, like, ever expanding? And he's like, yes, they're persistently expanding. It's kind of hard to explain these because, like, there are a few out there that kind of do something like it, too. Like, if you play Space Engineers or, there's something else I'm thinking about I'm blanking on. But, I mean, it's a crafting type game. Yeah, you can build any structure you want. You can build spacecraft. You can build vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of... You kind of got to think when you build them, too, because, like, putting a booster in the wrong area will, like, cause it to fly differently, too. So, like, it's not like you just put a rocket on and it flies. Like, it'll fly, but it's not going to fly well.
But you have to take a degree of physics into the fact you have to actually think about how it's going to make its way around.
Yeah. And a cool thing, too, is, like, once the game loads, that's it. There's no other loading when you go between planets or, like, you could take off from the ground. You can go, like, straight up and out, kind of like a No Man's Sky.
I was like, it sounds like what this description is, when did the trailer even look like? Like, this sounds like just a Minecrafty No Man's Sky, at least based on the original premise of No Man's Sky.
Pretty much. And you can also build stuff, not just on planets, you can build stuff in space as well. Like, they said, like, a player base, like, can I build a Death Star? It's like, theoretically, yes, you can. It's like if you want to build the Enterprise and have 400 people crew it, you could do that. So, you can make huge, just, vessels, which you actually kind of got to think about it and make them, too. Because, like, you can make a little fighter, but if you're trying to get to a planet, it's not really going to do it any amount of time, like a good amount of time. You make bigger spacecraft, bigger engines. You'll kind of go better, too. I think you got, like, refine the fuel and fill up your stuff, too, as well. I didn't get to see how much into the crafting it goes into, like, how much resource gathering is required.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
Yeah, the grind is what I'm really I'm wondering about.
I think that's something they're still trying to balance out right now, too.
Yeah, because so where do you know where it is in development?
It is in pre-alpha. They're hoping to move to alpha by the end of this month, and like letting like roughly 2,000 players in or so. And they're hoping to be in beta by summer 18.
Okay, that's actually not a bad amount of time, all things considered.
And they're hoping. So you know how game development goes.
Yeah, they're hoping, and obviously things change and shift.
So it's really kind of too early to say much into it too. What I saw in the demo is just, it's one of the servers they have here. They kind of like simulated what other people would look like with other people running around. But everybody like in that booth, like I have 4 different computers set up. They're all on the same server, so you can actually go see somebody make some stuff like that too. And they were like spawning a bunch of stuff, and I didn't see like any strain on like anybody's load. Like everybody was still like be able to move around and have like no frame rate issues or something like that. Granted, this is running on a local server.
So yeah, it's a local server, but still, like, that's going to be their hardest issue, is an ever-expanding, persistent universe like that eventually.
They seem to find a way to, like, let everybody do what they want without severely, like, impacting performance-wise on the game.
That I really curious to see how that's going to work as the game gets further along.
Yes, me too. But again, too early to see, but it looks pretty neat.
And PC, I assume.
Yes, PC.
Yeah.
Right now, I think for alpha, there are downloaded clients. They're not sure if they're going to move on to like a Steam or anything like that later on.
Gotcha.
It's just too early to say anything about that.
Sure. While you were doing that, I went to the VR area, which is right here in this very hotel we're in, and I checked out a couple things. One was FidgetlyCtrl. Fidgetly is a type of fidget spinner. They very early on got into that market, but then they discovered they were really curious about like their revolutions and stuff like that. So what they did initially is they made an app that tracked the revolutions per minute, how many spins, how since reset, how many times you've spun it, and then it's actual like location, like XYZ access, as well as numerous other things. From there, they turned it into a controller. I played a version of Flappy Bird with a fidget spinner. Yeah, spinning it fast made the bird go up. Having it stop made the bird go down. And apparently I got the furthest anyone had gotten to date on their first try. Which is also the first time I ever played Flappy Bird. with a fidget spinner.
You weren't missing much.
No, not really. But there was another thing they had there where you spun it and it actually spun it right and it made music play out of one of their speakers.
Cool.
You spun it left and it rewound. You spun it slowly and it actually played slow. So you could actually like DJ with it. That's like their basic stuff. Apparently they have a lot of stuff. They've been sending out they've been working on a bunch of different games, but I guess there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, there's fidget spinner controllers. Or I think $40 to get the actual unit with which right now you can pre-launch, and I believe like the actual launch is in like the next month or two.
Oh wow.
So yeah, this apparently has been something they've been developing on the down low.
Yeah, oh man, I hope fidget spinners are still in.
I mean, fidget spinners have been around for a while now. They just weren't like a trendy toy. They were a way to relieve social anxiety and a sort of anxiety thing. So yeah, I don't know. It was actually one of the most comfortable fidget spinners I've ever played with. So there was that at least. It actually felt really nice.
I wouldn't know. I never had a fidget spinner.
I don't recommend getting one. They are fidget cubes in my experience are actually really good for working. Like they're good. Like I'm playing with them in my hand, but I'm doing work. Mm-hmm. Fidget spinners, I'm like, oh, it spins, and then I completely lose track of time. But I know that's different for every person.
Start doing some sick tricks.
Some sick tricks. Yeah, he was showing me how it can actually measure in a 3D space, how you throwing it up in the air and doing stuff like that.
That's interesting.
I mean, yeah, if you want to get really good at those fidget spinner tricks. And then the other one I did up there was Hyperdash. Hyperdash is essentially a game, but this company found a way to make motion sickness not happen anymore in VR, but using software. Mm-hmm. So like we were playing, there was a VR game, there was a Vive headset and an Oculus headset. It works at PSVR as well, and pretty much all of them, you don't get motion sickness. Apparently the entire team wanted to get into VR. They started developing for VR and discovered that every person on the team had some degree of motion sickness. So they just became very curious, how do we solve this problem? And I guess they started working on it like late last year, early January, and they're only just announcing stuff now, but I don't particularly get motion sickness in VR unless I'm already nauseous going in, and I was very nauseous to start with this, and I actually felt fine, completely and utterly with it.
Awesome.
Part of it is a lot of different things. It's an adjustment of frame rate, I believe, and then it's also your movement. So in VR, the Vive, for instance, you have a very small area walk around, but for all VR total, if you want to go any long distance, you point your controller, you click, you teleport, right?
Yeah, right now locomotion seems to be like the hardest thing to nail down for VR.
Yep, so that's the hardest aspect. And this was like, it teaches you a boxer's stance. So, like that kind of like this.
Yeah.
But then you force your head forward, you go forward, or to the right, or this. But it measures like your height and a bunch of other things using the Vive cameras.
Cool.
Movement felt smooth. And then it transitioned to a first-person shooter, a 1v1. And I apparently was the only person to date, assuming they weren't lying to me, they might have been, to actually defeat the developers. And I did it 3 times.
Nice.
But I was like actually jumping up onto platforms by a combination of literally jumping and moving my head forward to clear that distance. And I was dodging around. I messed with a sniper rifle and pistols, and I felt like I was playing like a first-person shooter.
So be clear, like this is a developer tool. It's not something that you can just get and adjust a game to.
No, so this is something they are sending out the SDK to other developers and stuff to use. Though the Hyperdash game does use it, and the actual that's the first-person shooter thing. That game works, but they're sending the actual bare bones, the back end of it out to other developers.
Gotcha.
To license and whatnot. That's really soon kind of thing. And this might be actually, I don't know where VR is really going right now, but this was probably one of my favorite things of the show.
Oh,
hands down.
Cool.
Did a bunch of stuff and then checked out Adult Swim games. We played some more Toejam Earl.
Yes, we did.
Sadly broken headsets, so we had no music. I'm gonna tell you right now, we were there with the creator of Toejam Earl, and even he admitted it's a slow-paced game. For anyone who played the Sega Genesis game, we talked about this last year. It's the same game.
Well, let's be specific. It's if you played the first one, I think.
Yes, okay.
The second one was like a straight side scroller.
Yes, so the original Toejam Earl, not
which is sadly the one I was more familiar with. So like I'm not used to the original style of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I probably have 100 hours in the original game, and up until today, I didn't even, talking to the creator, I didn't even know it was a beatable game. I had no idea you could actually beat that game. Granted, I didn't know you could beat any games, because I never beat a game until I was like 10 years old, at least. But it's the same game. We talked about last year, 4-player co-op, got to actually experience that, which was pretty fun. On the Toejam Earl style.
Gets a little disorienting at points.
It gets very disorienting because it's active split screen. So if you get too far away, like think Lego games.
No, it doesn't quite do to Lego games because Lego games, like when you spread out, like at least cuts it in which way you're spreading out. This one, like it just splits the screen straight.
Yeah, no, the thing is, player 1 goes to the top left, player 2 goes to the top right. We were actually playing 3 players.
And that's at the bottom.
So bottom, and then, yeah, split screen was a lot, but I got kind of used to it. But I don't know, the game is still ways off, it seems like, at this point, but it was fun. I very much want to keep playing it, and I got a new Toejam Earl pin out of it, so... Yay. But then we actually went to what we were there for the point, which is Battle Chef Brigade, which is proof that you can... I'm going to tell you right now, sorry, Adult Swim Games, I made that appointment because I just want to work with you guys. I had no interest in the game. I'm just going to be honest.
I gotta say, when I first saw what the game was, I'm like, oh man, it's just another kind of like puzzle matcher. I'm like,
Yeah, because but then
I will say at the end, I enjoyed watching this game, and I do want to play this game.
Yeah, Justin enjoyed watching, so we played on the Switch. The way it was described was a match 3 anime combat. I don't even with cooking. All I know is I heard my wife like in the distance, hundreds of miles away, go oh. And she doesn't know why. That's how I feel about it. But it was a lot of fun. You create dishes using a match 3 system, but you go get ingredients in this very anime battle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then there's cooking competitions, which are timed. I don't even know how to frickin' explain this game officially. I hope that right now the future me is editing in B-roll.
Because essentially, like, it is a puzzle matcher where you're like, you're trying to, like, you got certain color blobs, or just want spheres and kind of like that. They kind of like all have each level. When you like get 3 of them together, like to get to a level 2. If you get 3 of those together, then it gets to a level 3.
And you're trying to make like the highest quality dishes, and essentially by filling up the space with the highest level stuff.
But what depends on what kind of colors of orbs and stuff you get. It depends what kind of food you put into it too. So that was really interesting. How you get more food, you got to run off, and this is where it gets to like a 2D like kind of like beat 'em up, hack and slash to like fight like enemies and stuff like that, to like big monster to like get beef from them and stuff like that too. And you bring that back, you can put that in there. Depends what kind of dish you're making.
But yeah, like it was just a case, but it switches so seamlessly between them. Like you're doing this, Bejeweled-esque kind of game, which is not a minigame. It actually feels really good, and it's once you get a hang of it, it's really interesting moving the pieces around and making these matches. But then it's like, oh shit, I'm out of ingredients that fit here, or something like that. So you run off. You could have different pots that enhance certain types of food, fire, stuff like that. You can have multiple pots going at once. I guess later judging challenges have multiple judges, so you have to make multiple dishes. But yeah, like running in and out between combat and making these things, it's all smooth and it feels really good.
Yeah. And when you're matching stuff up, like that's the cooking is the matching game. Like when you turn them around, that's them stirring. It kind of seemed like as you like connected like a certain amount. I know some were like you had to connect 2, some were like you connect 3. You get like the higher power spheres, I guess, or at least that's what they're represented as. Like the higher level it is, like the better the dish is. But there's also like you did competition where the thing was fire. Yeah,
the judge specifically wanted fire dishes, so I'd been given a hint by the developer, so I bought a fire pot, and I bought some extra, like, some jerky, essentially, which is a fire dish, and then they told me that, and so I just kept trying to find fire stuff, so you wanted to have as much red stuff as possible. And the red stuff cooks better in the red pot, for instance. Versus the green and blue does not cook in it at all.
Yeah, you kind of, like, had a basic pot, which you had to, like, take the dish out and put it into a different pot to start up a puzzle game again to like cook in that one. Then like you could keep. It's not like you just have what's in there. Like you can actually drop more ingredients in and try to make a better dish.
So
The thing I'm surprised is like I don't my anime knowledge isn't that extensive, but this seems like this really needs to be an anime as like it's presented as one.
and it has a story as well. Like this is seriously, I will see once we actually film the focus games. This is a huge.
You're like going to a
game
cooking
of show
brigade.
for me.
It's kind of like it's like you're a soldier almost like that, but like
Well,
you get into competitions, which is like Iron Chef, and
It's the Battle Chef Brigade. It's like Iron Chef meets the army, and with I this game, I don't understand how to describe it.
Iron Chef meets Full Metal Alchemist
I
almost.
told my wife, I'm like, I have another cooking based game you might like. She's like, oh yeah, tell me about it. I'm like, I don't think I could.
Yeah.
Camera just died. So hopefully I have. So we'll touch on Trailmakers really quickly, which is the last thing. And Trailmakers is a game much like Vehicle Builder, so Besiege, think that kind of. It's still really early on. It'll be multiplayer. They're working to figure out how to make that work. I mean, it will work, but they're trying to work on implementation. But you build vehicles, cars, boats, planes, helicopters, using blocks and stuff. You find things in the environment, you put together. The campaign mode is you just have to keep building bigger and better stuff to get through harder and harder locales. One of the things they said is they had no idea you could build boats in the game until their player base discovered that tires had a sense of buoyancy, and if you wrap a vehicle in tires, it'll float. They didn't really know quite how helicopters made, and then somebody made a balanced gyroscope. So I mostly missed the flying stuff because I am obsessed with that. The planes, I couldn't figure out for the life of me how to fly. The helicopter was a lot of fun to fly. The car was cool. The mechanics were cool of it. I didn't really mess with the boat. It's hard to say because there's really not a game there yet. It's really just like pretty simple. I mean, there are ways
like
off.
Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts.
Kind of. Yeah, no, kind of to an extent. I could see it being a pretty fun game. Particularly when multiplayer gets in and, physics starts taking effect and you start slamming into people and doing stupid shit and just messing around and drinking with your friends or something like that. Right now, there's not a lot to see there, but again, they're a ways away from really anything.
Yeah, which kind of been a problem with a lot of the indie games you saw.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is just like, this is a really cool concept. This really looks cool, but what are we doing here? So... anyways, that being said, I think that covers our PAX West 2017.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have some focus game stuff. Hopefully, I'm showing you something interesting right now because camera's done. We're gonna be showing you some focus game stuff coming up. We're going to pick, essentially, I think the plan right now is if we can come up with it, 2 to 3 videos each on games of show, as it were.
We'll see, because you play a lot more than I did.
I did. So as I said, we're aiming for 4 videos out of this. We may do more. We'll know more. We're not going to record probably till this weekend once Jess and I have recovered from our travels home, and getting back to real life. And then we may do also, if we have enough, we may also just do like a little runners-up video, just which will essentially be like a supplement to this. And all those focus game videos will just be just more deeper dives. We're going to do some research on the games we did just to make sure we give all the actual information and really show it off. But with that, from PAX West 2017, we bid you good sign off.